a Japanese term, and it's also a term that is called different things in various languages, okay? So Reiki pretty much means divine force. Rei means divine wisdom, and Ki is the universal life force. Or some people say Chi, right? It's the universal life force. It's God energy. That's pretty much what it means. God energy. It's energy. When I speak to people who have a biblical background, I say to them, you know, do you remember what Jesus did in the Bible when he was healing people? He laid his hands, right? He laid his hands and people felt better after he laid his hands on them. That's what Reiki is, right? It's using divine energy, divine power to bring healing to people, okay? And it's a stress reduction techniques that promotes relaxation and natural healing in the body. It dissolves the illusions of fear and empowers your soul to reveal your loving and authentic truth, filling your entire being with love and peace so that you overcome all obstacles. Now, how this happens is that it helps to clear some of the blockages that exist in the body. We have 7 main areas in our body where we store emotion. That's why it's significant to connect with your emotional self, right? So we have 7 main areas in our body where we store emotions. Sorry about that. And based on the blockages that exist in those areas, it creates a physical discomfort. Okay. Now, I've done a presentation about this before, and I'll have to do it again sometime in the future. But we have 7 of those areas. All right. I'm not going to talk about the areas per se as to what occurs in those areas. So the first one is the root chakra that helps to help us to feel grounded to the earth. All right. It helps to make us feel connected to our present reality, right? So somebody who's grounded, you understand what the term grounded means. They're connected with the earth. They're connected to everything that's going on around them. People who are able to be grounded and present, many times they had a good foundation as children. Now, if you've had some upheaval in your early childhood experiences, your root chakra may have some blockages, especially if it was unaddressed, okay? The next area is the sacral chakra. Sacral chakra has to do with trust and connection to those around you when it comes to relationships, but it also is the creative center of your body. And if somebody has experienced sexual trauma, if somebody has experienced any issue with regard to sex, maybe because of your conditioning, if as a child you were told that sex is wrong, sex is bad, it's not supposed to be something that's spoken about, it actually creates a blockage in that area, and it also affects your creativity, right? The solar plexus, and the funny thing about these centers is that when one is blocked, sometimes it overlays into another area as well. So most times when a person does a first Reiki session, when a person does the first Reiki session, most times, especially if they're not fully aware, all the chakras will be blocked. Okay, and then as we continue to work together, you may find that there's one specific or dominant area that you may need to keep focusing on. All right. So the other one, the yellow one you see on the screen, it is connected to our self-esteem, our confidence, our connection to the I am, okay? And then the green one, I'm just using the colors, right? Because some people may not be aware of them. The green area has to do with our heart, our connection to each other, our ability to love freely and unrestrictedly and unconditionally. The blue area above that has to do with our throat and our willingness to speak our truth. And by speaking our truth may not necessarily mean verbally, it's just living your authentic self and not needing external validation or approval to know how you show up in the world. Then we have our, what people call our third eye, or our brow chakra right here. And that area has to do with our ability to connect with the unconscious world or subconscious mind. That's where you receive intuition from. That's where people say they have a gut feeling. Many times it's the intuition, all right? The intuitive thoughts that come to your mind in a moment. But again, we've been taught that that's a coincidence. I have this thought and then I see synchronicity happen outside and I tell myself, oh, that's a coincidence. And there's no such thing as a coincidence, right? When you're able to connect with that part of you, you see the synchronicities that exist outside of you, but you're also able to go within and check in to that sixth sense for guidance, okay? And then we have our crown chakra, the purple one. The crown chakra is where we're connected to the divine. We know that we're always connected. There's no source of disconnection. Now, there are people who, I've worked with people who've said to me, I've always known that there was something more than this life. I never really knew what it was, but I've always known that there's something more. And they may not have had any type of spiritual connection or aware of any spiritual connection, but then I do a session, I will find that all the other chakras are blocked, but that particular one is quite clear. Why? Because they always have a sense that they're connected to something bigger than them, right? Likewise, interestingly, I will share this. Most times when I work with people who claim to be Christians or worship God or whatever the sense may be, those are the ones that I have found. This is a personal experience. Those are the ones that I have found that this one is blocked the most, because there's certain beliefs that you've been given that suggest quite the opposite. There's something that, if you think that there's something that you can do that will make God be separate from you, or there's something that you will do that will cause him, it, her, whatever you call it, to love you less, there's usually a disconnect with that. So although that presence is always available, you don't experience it because you have beliefs that block that. Now, what Reiki does is it's a holistic practice that allows the practitioner to assist you in clearing those blockages so that you create space to receive what is already available to you. If there are blockages in your area of creativity, blockages in your ability to be grounded to the earth, if there are blockages that cause you to feel a sense of a lack of connection or confidence in yourself, right? The practitioner's ability to help to clear those blockages and to educate you, cause your awareness to open, puts you in a position now where you're more empowered to allow those things that are available to you to come in. Okay, so you become more aware, you become more mindful, you become more present. So that roommate that we were speaking about, when it's chattering, you are able to say, not only is that my roommate, but it's easy now for you to realize, oh, okay, the only reason the roommate is talking so loud is because there is some confidence issue that I'm allowed to roam free. And I'm going to feed that part of myself so that my roommate doesn't feel like it has authority to talk about that area. Does that make sense? So the benefits involve creating space for you to thrive. It relieves pain because we spoke earlier about your emotions is how you know. When we begin to get signals, it comes through our emotion. It starts with a thought. Then when we ignore it, it comes with our emotions. So you start to feel pain in particular parts of your body. It is not unusual for somebody who has sacral blockage, which is in that lower abdomen area. It's not unusual for that person to have incessant cramps, menstrual cramps, right? The pain is an indicator that there's something else going on in that region to pay attention to, especially if you've ever been to the doctor for a particular issue and they've done all types of tests and they come back to you and they say there's nothing, we don't find anything wrong, we can't really say what's going on. You might want to check into that, all right? Because it's your body saying, pay attention to this emotion. When you do not pay attention to the emotion, the pain becomes stronger, and then sometimes it creates other physical issues, okay? And so what a Reiki practitioner does is they would they would use that divine energy, which is available to all of us. It's just that some people are trained how to do so. Use that, and some people are gifted, as a matter of fact. All right, to use that divine energy, so to help the person who's experiencing those particular discomforts to clear space so that they can thrive. All right, your mental awareness, you become more present. Physically, it helps to alleviate pain. It improves clarity of mind and body. Okay, and many people, after receiving Reiki, it transfers into their physical well-being as well. So there are many people who may be struggling with cancer or other physical ailments. They receive Reiki. It helps them to deal with the emotions. You deal with the emotions, the pain dissipates. The pain dissipates, it transfers into your physical well-being. Okay, because many times it's rarely an emotional issue. I'm being very discreet here. I want to say every time. All right, it starts with an emotional issue that transfers into the physical. Okay. All right, so where are we? I spoke about the different chakras. When somebody is aligned, they're able to trust, they're able to be creative and express themselves sexually. They're connected to the divine power. They feel connected to divine power, and they have a sense of confidence. You have the ability to love unconditionally. You're able to communicate clearly, and you're able to express yourself freely in your authentic self. You're more aware, not only of your surroundings, but you have an inner awareness, so that that roommate doesn't always take a free rein. And then you're always connected to divine. You always sense that connection to the divine. Okay, so that in essence is what Reiki is about. Now, I mentioned earlier that I am what we call a Master Reiki practitioner. Master Reiki is a step of the general practitioner. And what many people do not know, is that Reiki can be done from a distance. Okay, I think I've done Reiki with a few people on the call right now, and they've experienced the shift from a distance away. When people say that's some voodoo stuff. Well, if you think about it, that's one of the ways where, anything that can be used for good can be used for evil. All right. And if you've ever thought of a person and they called you, that's the basic of Reiki right here. It's connecting to the person and really setting an intention for healing for that individual and channeling that energy to touch with that. Okay. So I am a Master Reiki.
How long is a Reiki session?
Question. Okay, go ahead.
So how long is a Reiki session? A Reiki session can run from 1 hour to 90 minutes. Of course, a 90-minute session, you're just receiving more of that energy, and it feels super good. There are also other tools that I use to assist in the process. Anything that helps to raise the vibration. So I use tuning forks. I could talk about tuning forks another time. Tuning forks are another tool to help to raise the vibration in the body. If you've ever heard a sound bowl,
Yep.
and you just thought, man, that feels so good, right? So sometimes in the session, I use the tuning forks. It sounds just like that. I also use crystals, right? Where you connect with the person's energy. And after that, based on the findings, I spend some time discussing what I've noticed in the body, where the person has blockages. We do a coaching session to work through that. And then we set a date for the next session.
The coaching session is after.
Yeah.
You do the initial.
No, the coaching session after the Reiki is very concise, right? Based on the findings, we'll have subsequent coaching sessions and Reiki sessions to work through those particular issues.
I have a question. How much does it take from the practitioner in terms of energy? Like, does it pull from your own energy when you give Reiki? And if the practitioner is on a low vibration, like if I set a Reiki appointment and the practitioner, I don't know, just had a death in the family, would it affect the way that they're able to service me?
That's a good question. And so it depends. You remember I sent you that thing this week about Raven Simone, where she's able to, well, not able, she wasn't doing it intentionally, but she had this associative where she was able to separate herself from the moment. There are people who are able to channel in that way, right?
Yeah.
So it's possible. What they may find is when they're back in their body, they're more depleted than when they started. Now, for me, I check in with myself. I will not do a Reiki session back to back, because there are things that you deal with one person. You don't want to transfer that into working with somebody else. So I need to clear space between working with one client and the next to make sure that I've sat with myself, I've cleared my own energy, my aura, before I work with somebody else. And like you mentioned, I also check in. It's a continual process where every day I know I'm going to be encountering people. I have to clear myself, make sure I am grounded, and work with somebody else. Because if every session I set the intention that I'm meeting with Andrea, I know what Andrea is wanting, I set the intention for healing, that intention alone is not it's not coming from me, it's the divine energy through me that is coming to you. So it's all about the intention towards the situation. And like I said, being trained on knowing how to help to clear that energy space so the person can thrive.
I have something to add.
Sure.
Like for me, when I had my one done, and I do agree with you that, it will probably be best if you get multiple sessions, especially if you're just starting out. But for me, my reasons for getting the Reiki session is because I needed assistance with surfacing up suppressed emotions. Like that they were there, but I didn't know what they were. And I needed that to be done so I could further my spiritual journey with opening up.
Right.
Not only my chakras, but also my gifts.
Yeah.
So I knew I had them. Like I knew I had the gifts. I knew I had the suppressed feelings. I knew I had the blocked and locked box within me. I needed assistance bringing it up so I could deal with it, address it, analyze it, process it, heal from it, and move forward. So that's why I got the session, and I only got one, because I just needed it for that purpose, because I knew I had other things that I needed to align.
Right.
So that was my only reason for even getting the session done to begin with. Although I do think maybe if I would have went back and did it a couple more times before I decided to deal with my emotions, it probably would have been less of a blow that I received. But
yes.
I needed that hard blow. Like for me, I'm aware that in certain situations, I need a hard lesson, because I tend to have a hard head. I tend to want to do things, my way. I'm a Leo. So, it's like the hard way or no way.
Mm-hmm.
In order for me to see it, believe it, understand it, process it, get through it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm no longer deciding to go that route anymore, because I've learned my lessons and I've healed. And I'm aware of what is what.
Yes.
So I understand that with Reiki, it's most definitely a necessity to have, because the feeling, the releasing that you receive during and after, my goodness. Oh, it's
amazing.
Yes. It's like
amazing.
That really good, clear water type of feeling. That energy that you feel when you step in the ocean. Like, it's just...
Yes. And if it's your first session, and like you mentioned, if you're not in tune with your emotions, the space that is created is a new experience altogether. It's a new experience altogether, and you want to you want to keep creating more space for that to happen. And like I mentioned, there have been when I first started, I would do it every week and then every other week. And then I had a big break, but then I always know that that's something I can go to. I can always have it. It's like just like a chiropractor. You go to the chiropractor, and after a while, your body starts getting more aligned. And ever so often, you feel like, oh, I worked out a little bit much this week. Let me go to get a chiropractor session done, right? So it's very, very helpful in just creating balance in the life.
Correct. And even, you speak of a chiropractor, it's so funny because you were like, well, you go to multiple sessions. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, like, oh, I remember when I had that sciatic nerve damage flare up. The worst feeling in the world. I wouldn't even put it on my worst enemy. And I went to a chiropractor. And I only did 3 sessions. I was supposed to come back for 4. But it was like, oh, okay, you got me to the point where I can bear this pain. So I'm good. I'll just, move on from this. I'll do what I need to do. But I didn't go back after 3 sessions because even though I was still in pain, I was able to endure that pain and still keep it moving. So when you were saying, well, you need to go to multiple, yeah, I know you're right. I know that's something that should be done, but me being me, I just need a little bit. All right, I got it from here. I'm good.
Yeah, it's all about, how, and I've been there as well, where you feel like, okay, I feel like I'm okay. But when you understand how emotions work, I've been really contemplating recently, I think I've spoken about it on the call, that most of us have an emotional ceiling. An emotional ceiling, what I have pointed is an emotional ceiling is when you get to a particular place in your experience where you're like, oh, this feels good. It feels better, right? And we feel comfortable with feeling better as opposed to seeking what is the best way what is the best experience that I could possibly have in life, right? As opposed to feeling like, oh, I got it for now. No, this feels good and I want more and I want more. Not that you're dependent on that to feel more, but you want whatever the universe is providing to you so that you have the best experience that life has to offer. Okay? And that's something that everybody has to consider for themselves individually.